gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 20th, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by GameTime.co, your headquarters for all your ticket needs, no matter what you're going to, whether it be a sporting event, a theater presentation, a concert. GameTime.co, not .com, .co is your headquarters. You can also use the Game Time app to get all your ticket needs covered, whether they be at the last minute, whether you want to see where you're sitting from, the best price, whatever you need ticket-wise, GameTime.co will take care of you. We'll talk a little bit more about them later in the show. But we have an interesting show today. You know, we're putting a lot of work in here at CaneSport, starting to get ready for this Gator game. Okay, it's getting close, folks. We're only, 12 days away now, actually 11 days away from the Gator game. And, you know, we've talked about how big it is, and we don't need to belabor that over and over and over again, but we're starting to break down every single element of this game. And one of the things that we addressed today, which is a fantastic topic, is a look at Cam Ward against the Florida Gators secondary, which on face value is one of the biggest mismatches in Miami's favor going into this game. You know, when you look at this, Matt, and we'll go into some of the specifics, but it looks like Miami's, with Cam Ward, the receivers, and the passing game as a whole, the fact that the Gators secondary lost pieces off a back end that was 108th last year in team passing efficiency defense, number 70 in pass yards allowed, and now they're rebuilding. On face value, you're sitting here thinking Cam Ward and this passing game are going to have a field day in Gainesville. We'll discuss some flip sides to that later, but for starters, you took a hard look at this. Why don't give us some insight on this matchup between Miami's passing game and the Gator passing defense?
Sure. I'm so glad you asked. So
justify making you wake up this early.
Every game, you know, it's interesting also because we have two stories up this morning with analysis, and it's interesting. It's not it's not an accident we have both these up. One of them is about how Cam Ward has a mismatch against the secondary, which we'll talk about in a second. And the other one is how about it's so important that Miami's offensive line and defensive line respond, right? Because let's preface this whole Cam Ward versus the Florida horrible secondary with the fact that last year, I think Cam Ward was sacked 37 times. He's fumbled 46 times in 4 years. You know, those are just facts. Like when Cam Ward is pressured, Cam Ward can have some turnover problems. When Cam Ward is pressured, Cam Ward probably is going to have some issues getting the ball down the field. That's just like any other quarterback does. So it's incumbent, obviously, on the offensive line to perform for Miami against a Florida defensive line that's maybe a little bit underrated. They're really not bad at all. I think they're actually quite good. But when you look at the Florida secondary, just like Miami's secondary, I think that's the weak point in the defense. Florida has one really good guy in the secondary, Jason Marshall. They got another guy who started several games last year as a true freshman. And then other than that, they're just relying on a bunch of transfers or guys that haven't done it before, you know. And so it's the unknown. Like, yeah, can they be great? Yeah, just like Miami's secondary can be great. But it's the unknown, right? Like Miami's secondary, you know, Mish Powell will be good at safety. You know, Darryl Porter will be fine at cornerback. Aside from that, you don't know. You know, Damari Brown's probably at nickel. He hasn't really done that since high school very much. On the other side, you know, maybe Jadaeus Richard, OJ Frederick, who's a freshman, you know, Deani Hill. Like, you don't know if those guys are going to be really, really good in a game like this against Florida receivers who, quite honestly, are really, really good. You know, they're the top guy back. The quarterback's favorite guy from Wisconsin's on the team who's very, very productive. So, you know, Miami's secondary has its hands full. And guess what? Florida's secondary does too. So our story today really looks closer at Florida's secondary, which we just discussed. And then the Miami passing game needs to be on point. That's honestly the biggest factor here. When you want to say there's a mismatch, on paper there's a mismatch, right? But Cam Ward has to perform. His season opener last year, he threw for 451 yards. 451 yards with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against mighty Colorado State. And the last game he played was against Washington. The last game he suited up for in a game was against Washington. The team went to the national title game. And he threw for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns with 2 interceptions in that game. And he was sacked 5 times, right? So when you're getting pressured, when you're getting sacked, like if Cam Ward has time to throw, then this will come into effect. Then this mismatch will be clear to everybody. But Miami's offensive line has to hold up, which is why it's nice that we also have a story on that today and looking at how important it is that Miami wins the trenches in this game as well.
All right, so let's look at this a little bit. You mentioned Cam Ward, and he does sometimes turn the ball over, does sometimes get intercepted, does sometimes fumble, but he also has good moments. Okay, he threw for 300 or more yards in 7 of his team's 12 games last year, and in 3 of those he surpassed 400 yards. So this is a guy that can get hot and put up big numbers. Okay, so you factor that in with the obvious weakness on the Gator side, and I expect them to come back again and be better on the defensive line than they are in the secondary. And it does suggest that Miami will have success in the swamp throwing the football. They allowed an SEC worst 20 passes of 40 yards or more in 2023. They're in a transition between DB coaches. They've got a lot of guys competing for playing time spots and not a ton of certainty there. They have a transfer from Tulane at safety, a transfer from Washington at safety, not the better one, I don't believe. And just a lot of question marks as a whole in the secondary. So it is an obvious place for Miami to attack, and we absolutely do expect to see that on August the 31st. But
by the way, let me ask you a question. As active as Mario was on the transfer portal and as smart as he is, and knowing that the Florida game is the biggest game probably of his career at Miami, I think there's no doubt about it, wouldn't it have been smart for him to maybe get a transfer portal guy on offense from Florida and on defense from Florida, just because you know what you see on film, but you get a better sense, really, of the locker room? You bring those 2 guys on board, you make them feel at home. It's like you waterboard them a little bit and you get all the information. Like, that's what I would do. That's the Matt Shodell system of cheating. It's like the Belichick, deflating balls, whatever, watching the other team from videos that they're not supposed to take. That's what I do. I would literally, every big game on the schedule next year, I would take offensive and defensive key player, pay him whatever you got to pay him in NIL, and then just freaking put him in the interrogation room for a month in the offseason and literally build a game plan around what they tell you. Because, the coordinators don't change their systems too much. The personnel, even if the coordinators change, the personnel is the personnel for the most part. A lot of guys come back. I think it would have been very helpful. Am I wrong? Like, why don't coaches do that in this day and age of NIL? Is that cheating? Yes, it's cheating.
Anybody worth taking, Matt. I really don't.
No, you don't. They don't have to be good players. You give them a money grab, but whatever. Just some guy on offense and defense that know the team, that has played a bit with these guys.
Maybe when the number goes to scholarship number goes to 105.
I think it's genius, and I think YouTube viewers will agree with me. And I think it's Mario's fault. Everything's Mario's fault. This is Mario's fault. Should have taken an offensive defensive player and literally locked them up for a month. But no, never goes right for Miami.
All right, well, let's continue on this subject, and we need to talk about the flip side too, because we also have a story on the website today, like Matt mentioned, that even with all the hype of Cam Ward, all the NIL money being spent, the preseason player of the year honors that he's received from the ACC, does it make sense, okay, to put this entire season on the back of Cam Ward when you have other pieces that you can lean on, particularly what you hope will be an elite offensive line that, should be absolutely phenomenal this year. And not to mention a phenomenal running back room. I was talking to to Don Solinger, who many of you know was the Miami running backs coach through the heyday of the program. And, he coached all those guys: Gore, Portis, McGahee, Edgerrin James. He thinks that when you look at Damian Martinez, Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, Jay Allen, and you can even go as far as Lofton if you want, who's capable of playing some running back if you want to use them there. Christopher Johnson. He thinks that this running back room is as good as he ever had. How about that? And if you have that type of talent up front and at running back, there are going to be times during the season where it makes sense to lean on that, aspect of the team. I don't know if it'll be in the Gator game where you have this great matchup against their secondary, but they have a lot going for themselves, obviously, on the offensive side of the football, Matt, because, Mario, it's no secret, and people are going to get mad if he does lean on the running game a lot, but Mario wants to. I mean, that's his baby. I mean, that offensive line that he's put together is his baby. He loves pounding the rock and not taking the risks that you take in the passing game. So there will be times when you agree, Matt, where we see both probably shine a little bit.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's so funny you say Don Solinger says this is the best running backs room he's had, or seen rather, that he's had.
He thinks it's comparable to what he had, is what I said. Don't
right. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so funny.
Get it all convoluted, okay. He said he thinks it could be as good as any of the ones he had.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. It's so funny he said that because
that is saying a lot.
Right. It's so funny he said that because Patrick Nix told me the same thing about the Miami quarterbacks room. He has never seen a quarterbacks room like this back from when he was coaching at Miami. So it's, everything's coming together at the right time, which is fantastic. But in terms of going out on a limb, I don't think the limb we're going to be seeing in this game is going to be Cam Ward's arm early in the game. I just don't. Mario Cristobal, the mentality on offense, and yes, Mario Cristobal has a say on what they do on offense, especially probably more so than defense because he is an offensive coach. And his thing, especially on the road with a lot of new pieces on offense, with a quarterback who has small hands and has fumbled a lot, you don't want to make an early dumb mistake that turns the momentum against you. That's going to be the biggest thing that's probably on Mario's mind early on. I know fans want Miami to open it up from the start and go deep. And yeah, they might throw a deep pass on the first play because we know Shannon Dawson likes to do that, to pretend that we're going to throw the ball over the field. But they will be hunkering down. My prediction, if there was a Vegas betting line for this, I would say they will run the ball on 7 of the first 10 plays. If there was a Vegas betting line and it was under 7, I'm taking the over. Okay. I just know how Mario likes to do this stuff. So that's okay. You got to get sort of in the flow of the game, sort of see how things are going. And Mario's going to trust his offensive line an inordinate amount, and his running backs, like Gary said, Don Solinger, whatever words exactly he said, I can't remember how Gary put it. I tried to paraphrase it. I couldn't, apparently.
It's not real complicated, Matt. He thinks that the running back room is at the same level as some of the ones that he had when he was here with all the greats. All
right, whatever you just said. So with that, the offensive line, that's the bread and butter of a Mario Cristobal offense on the road in a huge season opener where you don't want to make a dumb mistake early and get behind the chains, get behind on the scoreboard in a hostile environment with a team that really is just starting to come together. It's not like the old days. In the old days, and by old days, I mean 10 years ago, it's not even that old. There was 2 practices every single day. 2 practices every single day. One would be in full pads, tackling to the ground. The other would be more walkthrough stuff because you don't want to kill the guys, right? But every single day, and I think they were allowed 15 two-a-days in those 30 days. So not every day, but, most days or many days. I don't want to say it incorrectly. Gary might freak out again. So now I think they're allowed 15 days or 10 days where they can actually tackle to the ground. Like the rules now are insane. There is no two-a-day. The second part of two-a-day is going up into the lounge and playing some video games with your buddies, and then going to eat a nice meal in the whatever the heck it's called. I'm too old to remember this stuff. The meal hall, whatever they call it for the players, I can't remember. But and obviously they have meetings and all that stuff. It's so different now than it was then, which is why it's even more important to pack it in, so to speak, to start a game like this. Because, Mario might love to say, okay, I know what I have. But the truth is every coach in the country knows less about what they have than they would have 10 years ago. Because when you see your players tackling to the ground, when you see your players going mano a mano day after day, literally to the point of exhaustion, which is what happens in games, it's a lot different than now where you practice indoors for an hour and a half, outdoors for an hour and a half, and that's it for the day. Actually, even less than that, right? And you're not even tackling on the ground. You're thudding, right? You're thudding, which means you just are hitting them, and that's it. And you have 2 scrimmages, and that's it in the fall. It used to be so different in terms of building stamina, building physicality, building mental toughness, building camaraderie, building a team goal. Because the players on those teams, if you want to quit, you're going to quit. You're going to quit. There were players back then. There was a player, who was it? There was a player who literally just walked off the field in the middle of one practice. He was like, that's it. I'm done. And he left. I can't remember who it was. And he just walked off the field. And I think he was back like 4 or 5 days later. But it was a grind. And for Mario to know for a fact that he has a team that will fight through every kind of adversity, well, he doesn't. He can say it all he wants, but you don't know it till you're playing at Florida in the 4th quarter, down 2 points at your own 20-yard line with a minute and a half left. That's when you know what your team has. And until that happens, it's all pie in the sky. Like, hey, I think it's all better. Last year Mario said the same stuff. His first year he said the same stuff. The guys are doing great. They're getting along great. The morale's great. I'm implementing the blueprint. The culture is being fixed. Blah 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 blah. I personally believe now it's way better than it was the first 2 years. Just because on paper, I know what these guys have done in the past. Mario finally is bringing guys in the transfer portal that aren't a waste of goddamn time. Every year, the first 2 years he's here, I literally told you guys, the way he's using the portal is a waste of scholarships. His strength is recruiting. Why is he doing this? And it played out in their records. I've changed my tune this year because he's getting free agents. The vast majority of the guys he brought in this year are free agents. So finally, he's got the transfer portal right. He's already on his 3rd recruiting class that's in the building. So this is his team. This is his time. And to not necessarily know what you have to start a game is probably scaring the hell out of him because he thinks he knows what he has. But if you're a coach and you're not quite sure, that translates into being conservative. And that's why I think to start the game, for sure, they'll be conservative. They're going to rely on their defensive front to sort of slow down Florida, get into the flow of the game. He'll see how things are going. The coordinators will see how things are going, and then go from there. Those first scripted plays are going to be a lot of runs. You can write it down. Deep pass on the first play, and then a heck of a lot of runs. Mark it down. Or those little short passes. When I say runs, I mean those little short passes, honestly, those little swing passes, quick hitters. Those are almost like running plays. So let's make it 8 out of 10 of the 10 first plays. If you want to include those little not within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage passes, I think there might be 2 passes that go past 5 yards of the line of scrimmage out of the first 10 plays. Mark it down. If I'm wrong, then who cares? I'm wrong about everything. What does it matter?
Yeah, I don't know that that you're necessarily going to be wrong. I mean, there's conflicting forces at play here, and when you go on the road, even though everybody thinks that Florida stinks and that you're going to just blow them out, you got to respect that situation. Like, you have to respect that you are on the road at the Swamp, opening day. You got 41 new players on your team, and a lot of pieces that you're trying to integrate. Might not be the greatest strategy to come out freewheeling it just because the Gators secondary is supposed to be a big weakness. So it's going to be, these are the decisions that the coaches are going to be making here over the next, week and a half or so that just make, the game so interesting, what strategy to employ, what game plan to go up there with. And, we just thought we would throw it out there at you a little bit today. And we will be doing a lot more of this as we go forward here and get ready for the game. All right, let me take a moment to talk about GameTime.co and the GameTime app. And if you get their app, I really highly recommend you download their app from the App Store and just keep it in your phone for when you need tickets, because it's way better than all the competitors out there. I'm not going to name all the different ticket sites and stuff that are out there, but GameTime.co is right there at the top. And I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why. They have this new feature called Game Time Picks, okay? And it makes getting tickets to the events so much easier because they filter out the fluff, and they only show you the incredible deals on great seats. You don't get bombarded with all types of extra information. You only see the best deals on the best seats. You're not wasting all kinds of time, okay? Their curated deals that they're putting together just make it so much more functional and to find the best deal, the super deal. And that's what Game Time is all about. And they're a great place to get last minute tickets also right up until the start of the event. And get this, let's say you're running late, or, let's say you're thinking, I should have gotten tickets for the Heat game or the Panthers game or whatever. And it's right at the first puck's about to drop, or it just dropped 10 minutes ago. Let me go see the second and third periods. You can go to Game Time and do that. They will sell tickets up to an hour after the event starts. So they have a lowest price guarantee, or they will credit you 110% of the difference. They have all-in pricing, which I absolutely love. I can't stand buying tickets when you got to try to figure out, and you guys do it, the fees are absurd. Anytime you buy a ticket, it's just ridiculous. The fees are almost as much as the ticket in some cases. You toggle a switch, you get all-in pricing. You know exactly what you're paying at the time that you're making your purchase. You want to see what the event's going to look like from your seat. You click a button, the seat view graphic comes up, and you could see exactly what the game or show is going to look like from your vantage point. They offer event cancellation protection, 24-hour returns guarantee. If you buy your tickets and you lose your job, and you need a refund on your tickets because you need the money for groceries, they'll even have you covered there. They will give you your refund. That's their job loss assurance policy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets now by going to gametime.co or by downloading the Game Time app. You create an account. And then once you create that account, when you're ready to make your first purchase, you use the code ON3. And when you use that code ON3, you will get $20 off your first ticket purchase at gametime.co. So go to gametime.co, download the Game Time app today for your last minute tickets, your lowest prices, all of it guaranteed. And I don't think you're going to be sorry. It's worked out great for me.
Wow. GameTimes.co. I'm just looking. This is amazing. So they give you $20 off your first one, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking here. The Taylor Swift concert at Hard Rock. So there's a perfect seat right in front of the stage for $32,674. So I get that for $30,654 with the promo code ON3. This is amazing.
Just enter that code.
I'm doing it. So here, what do you think the cheapest ticket is for that Taylor Swift concert? The cheapest in the entire stadium.
It's like $2,000.
$2,122. Well, $2,102 with the amazing $20 promotion. But
it's insane.
I want to see Miami games like that. Miami, Florida State games. That's what these. What would you rather go see? I'd rather see Miami, Florida State than Taylor Swift. Like, that's just me. But I guess a lot more people like Taylor Swift than the Miami Hurricanes. It's very disheartening.
Can you imagine your dad and your little girl comes to you and says, "Daddy, I want to go. Please let me go to the Taylor Swift show. I have to go. Taylor Swift is life. You've got to do this for me, Daddy." And then Daddy goes to gametime.co and he looks at
good luck. What if
$2,100?
This is what Mario.
And I can only get, and CaneSport told me I can get $20 off my first purchase.
If Mario Cristobal's team loses 4 or 5 games, they should pay Taylor Swift whatever she wants to be the quarterback for one game. And they could make like $20,000 a ticket and put it all to NIL for the next year. It'd be amazing. Give her $4 million just to play quarterback for like 3 plays. You know how many people would pay a fortune to see Taylor Swift play quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes? And she has eligibility. Does she have eligibility? I don't know.
Listen, she has so much power that they scheduled the football season, both NFL and Miami, around her concerts. How about that? They've been booked for a long time, and they just blocked those dates and told the Dolphins and Hurricanes you can't have games on those dates. So Miami had to tell the ACC the stadium's not available the weekend that Taylor Swift comes to town.
Yeah,
how about that?
She's there the 18th to 20th of October.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, so you're covered now on tickets. No matter where you want to go, we got you covered. All right, so we have a lot of other coverage on the website today. Let's see. Most of it recruiting, but like we've been telling you, we're still doing a lot of recruiting, even though the season's coming. There's a lot going on. Miami's diving hard into the next cycle. But we do have an Inside the Lines feature with a commit from this weekend, Bryce Fitzgerald. He's the defensive back from Miami Columbus. Azubi Charles went inside the lines with him. I think you guys will enjoy that feature. Let's see. We have a couple other things. Miami continues to push hard for top 35 wide receiver Jabari Brady from Chaminade Madonna. This is a kid that's got offers from Florida State, Florida, Alabama, Ohio State, to name a few, Oregon as well. So we update you on where his recruitment stands. You got a defensive tackle commitment, Donta Simpson, who Miami flipped a few weeks ago from Maryland. A couple programs still continue to pursue him. One of them is Maryland. They're not quitting. They're hanging in there. So we update you today on where the Donta Simpson recruitment stands. Micah Newton was defensive tackle commit Miami got over the weekend. We talked to his coach about his advancement as a player, how he's gotten so much better over the last 12 months. Make sure you check that story out today, as well as a story on local 2027 defensive back Zayden Gamble. 2027, but he's getting a lot of love from the Miami coaching staff. He tells us about it. So make sure you check that story out as well. If you're on YouTube right now and you like this show, like this channel, you're so thankful that we are hooking you up with GameTime.co for your tickets. Hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube and growing our audience. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please come join our community of fans. Your subscriptions allow us to be on here every morning to do what we do every single day to enhance your fan experience. We need your subscriptions. Please come on over to CaneSport.com and create an account and join. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us. For a very well-behaved Matt Shodell today, hope he didn't bore you to death. I'm Gary Ferman. We will see you guys next time.